Yeah, I have 2 on each day that I'm really would like to attend.
Are we we're passing over the presentation?
Yeah, we have,
Because I
of course,
think.
Tim will be here this evening, and then Hunter wasn't able to attend. And then the Pinnacle Park Skating Rink group has tickets that they got, that are this evening, for a celebration, and they're going to. So they're all excited.
Alright, so we'll do that, we'll put them in there.
And then on the town council planning board workshop, we really have nobody else
Hopefully sending this going around and getting
confusion.
signatures.
Okay, so we can talk about that,
When do you
Dan.
have to have it?
Yes. And
I would like to
then
make it as due on
I've got a whole
15th.
list of facilitators, but I have to kind of.
No, I just found out on Saturday.
Right. Yeah, that's a good plan.
They approached, this is 2 years earlier than I had planned on.
It's not that I'm against signing, but I would like to see you get it.
Otherwise, there should be a short meeting.
I said it's not that I'm against signing, I don't see who else is in the running for it.
Yeah.
Just in case there was somebody else I know.
From what I understand, he's the only one right now that has expressed interest, but he's not actually doing it.
Okay.
So when we do the appointment, we can send in the ex officio, and then that will keep us.
And that was still the case when I talked to Joel this evening.
Yes, and then,
So you're gonna be
the
really,
group
really
will
busy.
meet.
So what's going on? What's going on?
It's like a double election.
I'm running for state representative.
Yeah.
And it's covered totally, because the town is the only member of Peak, and so it's.
Catherine's like, oh, good, you can
for us.
awesome.
So this is, taking care of all the regulations.
Okay.
So that's good.
So if you're elected, would you stay on the council?
I wouldn't leave the council hanging. I made a commitment.
I think Scott served while he was on the council.
Yeah, he said he served us
Scott
last
did
year.
that. He brought back information at this meeting.
Which is nice.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, Catherine, did you ever find out if signature stamps were acceptable?
I got
On
the-
these
I got,
orders and-
the answer I got from MMA was sort of a runaround, so I contacted the auditor and I haven't heard back yet.
Can't, what about the attorney?
They all referred it to the auditor. Yeah, I know.
I hope we can-
I'm not talking about for,
I think it's
I'm
fine.
talking
I've
about
used
for
them
the-
before, but
Huh?
I think it's fine. I've used them before. Councilors have had them before in other towns. And it worked
right.
out
It's
really
just
well.
for this stuff, if we're signing the warrant, it has to be, I would
No.
imagine that has to be an
No, I
original
understand.
signature.
Everybody referred it to the direction of your auditor.
Wow.
Who
Tell them
is
to
coming.
get on them.
Okay, so we're not expecting Tim tonight, so we can go
We are
ahead
not.
and get started.
Correct.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council, Thursday, March 5th, 6:30-ish, 6:34. Let's open our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll have it on next time. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Silence, please. Thank you. We'll go on to presentations, congratulations, and introductions. And we have our first 2 items that are on there, we're going to pass over tonight because the people involved weren't able to be here. So we'll,
Excuse me, Miss Mayor, we need to adopt the minutes first.
oh, I crossed it off instead of the open meeting. Thank you. Let's adopt the meeting minutes from a regular meeting held on February 18th, 2020. Would anyone like to make a motion?
So move.
Go.
Seconded.
Second.
Thank you. All right, any questions or comments from the audience regarding the meeting minutes? Nope. How about counselors? Any changes or adjustments need to be made?
Oh, I thought they looked pretty good.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of passing or adopting the minutes as written for our last meeting of February 18th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, tonight, so that passes. Then we'll go on to congratulations, presentations, and introductions.
So for the first two, Hunter's not able to be here this evening, and the Pinnacle Park Skating Rink group was very excited about receiving an award. However, they do have tickets to an ice hockey game tonight, and that won out. So they will be present at the next council meeting. And then our third item is presentation, which is really a discussion on the joint town council planning board workshop to discuss the comprehensive plan, future projects, and what we're doing. And so we need to get this defined out, get some dates. And then once we have this defined out, I'll be able to contact facilitators. And I have, from contacting Colby College, Thomas College, the University of Maine, the University Co-op, I have a list of 9 facilitators, which we can then contact to see who's available.
So is this a discussion now?
This is an open discussion, and Jan's here tonight, he's the planning board chairman, so we'll openly invite him to the discussion as we go.
It's my understanding that I like the idea of the council and the planning board working together, but not to revamp the comprehensive plan, but to look at it and start implementing stuff.
You're saying we
in
want-
the notes, in the minutes from the last planning board, it talks about reviewing the plan for updates. And that's not due to be updated until 2025.
So you just want to look over it and see how we can
How we
implement
can start
this plan.
implementing some of the stuff that we've talked about doing. And I don't know, but I haven't heard if anything's been done. Other than I did get a list of things from Steve Seekins, things that the planning board has done, which most of it is zoning. But then we have all kinds of other stuff to talk about. The mission, the vision, which is all in the comprehensive plan. So, and I have reference on the 15th of January, the 2nd of February, and again at the last meeting, not the last meeting, the meeting before, because I wasn't at the last meeting, references to, we need a vision, we need a mission, we need to redo this, redo that, all meaning, to me, implementation as opposed to updating.
So your preference would be to have the boards meet together and talk
And
about which items to start
Absolutely,
implementing?
absolutely, because I don't know if that's been done in the past.
I don't think there's, in my memory, there has not been a joint meeting of both boards.
Heart of Pittsfield, when I was on that committee, we were given a copy, but it only pertained to, it was the first 4 pages, and then I had the goals, community goals, and we each took a project, like Vaughn Woodruff did the mapping, and went into the schools and taught the 8th graders how to update addresses and whatnot on Google Maps. I took the art and culture piece and put together a plan for a community art program. Jane did something with the trails. So, but other than that, I haven't heard anything else being done that's been directly in the plan.
Right, I don't think that the council, I don't recall the council directly addressing it, which is, I think, why Jan had first requested to have the meeting.
Oh, I think the meeting is a great idea.
Jan, what was the planning board's goal in requesting the meeting, the joint meeting?
To
Where shall I begin?
Wherever you would like. Let's have like a 20-minute discussion about this.
how about at the beginning?
I'd rather start at the end.
Okay.
And I say that seriously, because I think one of the things that keeps popping up or coming up is the idea about, what is the comprehensive plan? And what purpose does it serve? And I think if you look at that historically, towns were supposed to do that. And then after they did that, there were supposed to be some dollars that were supposed to flow from the state.
Which of course probably didn't happen.
Which did not happen. And when I look at the comprehensive plan, the way I see it is, where do we want to be 10 years from now? But unfortunately, 10 years from now, if the comprehensive plan is listed 2013,
Right.
10 years from now is just a couple years down the road. So what we've been trying to do is to take a look at some things. I think, the observation is correct in terms of trying to look at some things that need to be done. My view of the meeting with the council, whenever that's going to be, was to just, I don't think we need any facilitators for that,
I
Catherine.
think just a discussion.
It's just, that meeting is
I think
just,
the community,
It's for the focus groups.
yes.
it's for the focus groups after we have that meeting, to identify 2, 3, 4 areas, to get people to come in. And I think, so the purpose of our meeting with you guys is to just kind of say, here are some things that need to happen, and which are the most important.
So your thought is that the meeting be talking about implementation as opposed to rewriting?
Oh,
or
I don't want to
updating?
rewrite the thing.
Okay.
No,
'Cause the
I
minutes
think,
didn't
because I
reflect
think
that.
once we have that meeting, and once we have the meeting with the people in the community and the focus groups, at that point, I think there'll be a time to make some significant changes. Because 2013, and where we are 2020, a lot's happened then.
And we still have 5 years to go before we have to have to look at it again.
Well, yeah, but you know what's going to happen in those 5 years, but that's beside the point. I want to share something else. I was going to bring it up later, but I'm going to bring it up now, if you don't mind. Is it Miss Mayor? Mayor. How do we refer to that now?
Mayor Donahue.
Just
Mayor
talk.
Donahue, okay.
Just talk.
No, just talk. It's been really kind of interesting, because in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 people call me and say, I'd like to take you for a ride. That doesn't include one call. 3 people have called me and said, I want to take you for a ride. One offered to buy me lunch, which I thought was not bad. The second one, there was no lunch. The third one, I haven't contacted that person yet. And what happened with those first 2 rides is we took a ride through town. Well, that's one of them. But I think it's identifying areas and things that really need to be, that I think directly or indirectly are part of the comprehensive plan. And
Such
their
as?
comment has always been, when we finish the ride after the roads, because we usually go get a cup of coffee, they sell the nerves. The comment after the ride is, what steps, what do we need to do to attract people to come to this town? And what needs to be done? What does the town need? And so forth. I did have another phone call from somebody that's going to remain nameless at this point, who said, I might be interested in coming to town and doing something with developing some housing for people. Because I think the reality of the situation is, we're not going to have a multi-million-dollar company move to this area. But if you take a look at Waterville and the surrounding areas, Waterville is going to cap out here pretty soon by everything that they're doing. And some of those folks are going to need a place to live. And maybe that's something that we can think about here. Now, that's a project that's a few years away, but I think we need to talk about that now. That may require that we change some of the things in the comprehensive plan It may mean we change some of the areas of the zoning in town so that we can have some different kinds of housing. A number of people have said, let's build some little houses or those tiny
The
homes.
tiny homes, yeah.
And, that might be a good idea. That seems to be a trend, not here necessarily, but across the country in terms of tiny homes. I think the first question we ask is, do we want that here? And then secondly, how do we control it? I don't want to make that decision. I think the
You
town.
mean control.
Huh?
What do you mean by control?
Well, I think one of the things is that, one of the discussions, and Steve is trying to get some other policies and so forth from other towns. A lot of towns, when they talk about tiny homes, is that on?
Yeah.
You don't take the wheels off of them. So it's almost like a trailer.
So it's non-taxable.
Not the ones I've seen.
Well, but see, that's the point. What kind do we want to have? And no, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that's
We
the
want
control
permanent.
part, is defining
Right.
what would qualify as a tiny home versus somebody parking an RV in somebody else's yard
Yeah.
versus,
Exactly.
that type of
And
thing.
Because
some of when you take a look at some of the tiny homes, they do leave the wheels on them, so they do look like a trailer, but that's not what their design was. I just think we need to have some guidelines and some things. And the other question is, do we want to have those down on Altalma? Or do we want another section of town that lends itself to that? But I also think that there's going to be a need in the area for not necessarily an area like I live in, where there are larger homes, but some homes where young families can come in with kids. So do we need to take a look at our maps and say, okay, let's change this, and right now it's designated for farming, no offense, it's designated for farming, but can we maybe do something a little bit different with that so that we can get some homes and get some contractors in to say, yeah, I see a potential here. Those are the kinds of discussions that I think
Right.
I'd like
That
to
we
see.
would have. So it's so the minutes are incorrect then. You want to, or the planning board's intention is to implement, not rewrite.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
Because I think, no, we're not going to.
I just want to make that clear, because if it was rewrite it, I would not approve of that.
Well, we're not going to rewrite it, because I think after we make some decisions, that will force the things that need to be changed.
Because, I mean, I don't think, I know
Start at the
the
end,
6
work
years
your way
that
back.
I was on.
Right.
we had
Start,
a
where do we want to be?
comprehensive
That's
plan.
why, through most of the things that I've done with my careers, which have been various, most of the time it's been, let's start out here. Where do you want to be 10 years from now? And what do we need to do today to move us in that direction? And, politicians, no offense, politicians are not necessarily prone to that, because they just want to, but I think we need, we're at a point, not necessarily related to here, but I think maybe there's a possibility. One of the things one of the websites that I watch, which I probably should stop, is that one of the decisions that's being made in Washington D.C. is they're cutting out a lot of money for rural schools.
They put that on hold today.
However,
For now.
it's still on the table. It's still there.
Yeah, it's only
And
got
one of the
hold.
things that I've done in my retirement is I've done some testing for a couple of agencies down in Washington. And I've traveled through a lot of the elementary schools in northern Maine. And when you go into a school that has 3 or 4 kids in the 4th grade, and that school loses money, what's going to happen? Now, that's up north from here, but we're not that far away from that, because when you take a look at And, you know, one of the questions that I've asked, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but one of the questions I've asked is, what is the age range in this particular town? Because I see it as a lot of people like me, old and deaf,
Yeah.
really old.
Well,
But if that's
Yeah,
what the
but
community
you're
is gonna
right.
look like, that's gonna require some changes down the road, and I think we need to begin to think about that. And the fact, and I knew they put it on hold, but the fact that it's discussed means that it's out there.
Yeah.
And that scares me, because those kids, what's gonna happen? The other piece that I think is kind of interesting is, which I can't believe it, but I was a supporter of this 25 years ago. If you've seen, I think it was the channel, the NBC local news, one of the high schools has a program with one of the vocational schools right now. It's down east. And juniors and seniors in high school take morning classes at the high school. They take classes in the afternoon at the vocational school. When they finish their senior year, not only do they have their high school diploma, but they also have certification to electrical apprentice. You know, because nobody wants to get their hands dirty anymore. And that's what we need right now. If we need a plumber in town, who are you gonna call? Not Ghostbusters, by any stretch of the imagination. Who are you gonna call? You know what, there's some people around, but as that group gets older also, there's gonna be some real issues. And so there's some advantages to living in rural areas, and I'm not just talking about here, but there are also some disadvantages. But I think the plan that we have, the, whatever you wanna call it, needs to be able to say, how can we address some of these concerns in the future?
I think it does. I think we just have to sit down. We need to read it first and then sit down and have a discussion about it.
So I completely agree with what both of you have said, and I think that we're at the point now where we have a roadmap of where we're gonna go in the comprehensive plan, and it's a matter of putting policies, whether that be zoning changes or policies before this board, that can get us a couple steps closer to there, and identifying with the public, you know, what are the most important things, and
And-
that's where the public input sessions.
And that's where community development will come into play. It's not just what do we want the community to look like, but what do we have to offer in the community that will attract people, such as what's happening with the theater, making a conversion from being just a theater to being a cultural center, things like that. Art programs, music programs, so on and so forth, that makes us attractive. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. So what we're talking about is looking at the implementation matrix, which are in the comprehensive plan, which set out the different projects.
Right.
And we also had last year Gary Jordan on behalf of the Pittsburgh Economic Expansion Corporation that spoke to both the planning board and the town council about a couple of areas that we also are hitting here. The first one being that we need new housing. We desperately need new housing. People just do not want to fix up the older homes, and I've learned my lesson on buying a home
An older home.
before 1900. So I won't be doing that again, and many other people have too. And so your subdivision ordinance is the most restrictive that I have seen in any communities. I'm sure that there's more restrictive ones out there, but of a number of communities, it's very restrictive, so that along with the zoning, which is restrictive on where the subdivisions can go. So when developers come and start looking at our ordinances, they just say this is too
Forget it, we
restrictive,
can't.
and they leave, they can't make a profit on the housing. And so new housing, whether it's large or small, brings new families. I will say from being involved with the polling here earlier this week, there are a lot of new families in town. There are many new faces. many of us who know so many people saw so many new people. So they are moving in. They're just, very quiet and keeping to themselves, and we need to reach them, which is something we talked about. The second item that Gary mentioned is that our commercial and industrial property that we have, the town has sold everything that it has for commercial and industrial, and it would be good to look around and see if there's any properties we could properly zone under the comprehensive plan. And we do have incentives for those people who own properties that are sort of run down, that are commercial, industrial, in a way that they can be developed beyond what the zoning has for them. But there are a number of properties in which people are just setting on them and not interested in moving them their tax breaks. And so we do need to look at those two areas too, to flush that
And a
out.
lot of people don't understand the zoning.
Mhm.
I don't. I don't know how those decisions were made, and I don't know how hard it is to maybe change them, and the whole process
I think
of
it's just
zoning
an
is
ordinance
really.
change.
Yeah, ordinance
It would be an
changes.
ordinance change for
Has to
zoning.
match up with the comprehensive plan though. that
And
you-
see,
Right, so-
so there's some conflicts there, only because I don't think there's some goals down the road.
Well,
So the other day, I'm out, what's the day? Thursday, Tuesday, I'm out trying to get the ice off my driveway finally. And a pickup truck pulls in my driveway. And they said, "You live here?" I felt like saying, "No, I just
No.
clean up the ice here." But anyhow, they said, "We're from another town, and we'd like to move to town here, and there's young adults and 2 kids in child seats in the back seat of the truck. But we've been looking around, and there's not a lot of houses for sale." Now, Catherine, in my research yesterday and today, 5 houses are for sale.
It's very, very low.
It's very low right now.
Extremely.
So, and he said, "Well, is there any
The
hope for
video's
the
not
future
working.
here in terms of doing something?" I thought, there's a message there, and I think people need to
I'll be right back.
to hear that by changing some zoning and so forth. And like I said, I contacted somebody that says, "I might be willing to come into your area and maybe do something with some kind of housing, not flashy, not fancy, just some basic starter homes for, young families." And, I mean, what a golden opportunity that is.
Well, one thing that Matt had brought up at one of our ordinance committee meetings, I think last year, was the fact that because we're under MUBEC, you have to have an engineered plan for your home, which can be
What did you-
expensive. And then if the towns had some pre-approved plans that people could just say, "Oh, well, I like this one," and then
Yeah.
you do your layout, then it would make it a little bit easier for people to build in town.
And what did you say in the beginning? We're part of what?
MUBEC.
MUBEC, the main uniform building and energy code.
But
That's
you-
the code that we have to follow because of the size of the town.
So if
We're
we
the
get,
only one in the area that has it.
yeah, if we get 4 people to move out, we're under 4,000.
Yeah, we're like just on the cusp.
That's
So,
the problem,
it's-
that we are.
Yeah,
It
all the
stops
other
working
towns,
again.
all the other towns around
It looks
us
fine.
don't have to follow that, that stringent building code, like on Route 100 going up past the hospital, up past Feed
Yes.
Commodities. There's nice, cute little homes. They're probably little studio type homes. They have a little breezeway and a garage, just 2 attached together.
Yeah.
There's a little development. He can't build them fast enough. They're selling
Over in
before he even
Palmyra,
has
yeah,
them.
Cookson.
Yeah. Oh, they're selling faster than he can build them. And you can't build those homes here in Pittsburgh.
Nope.
Because they don't meet the square footage and other things.
So that's something we could fix.
No.
We need to
it's-
look into repealing Newbeck though.
Maybe,
What?
maybe, you can never say never.
I mean, there's gotta be a way.
We need to elect a whole bunch
If-
of
if
councilors
we-
to the legislature.
If we wanna do something like that, you're telling me absolutely no, we can't do it?
Not
because
right now because of MUBEC. The homes would have to be bigger and they would have to be built to a different standard. To insulate a home in Pittsfield, it costs almost 3 times as much than elsewhere because of the R value requirements in UBEC versus what a normal
And
sane
is the whole
person would be
state,
in
is the
the
whole state
Only if
using
you're a
this code?
town, only if you're a town of 4,000
4,000
people or more.
So-
But if a town does adopt a building code, it has to be MUBEC. So they can either have no building code adopted, which I believe Detroit
Yes.
does not have a building code. You
Burn
have to
it.
get your,
Burn
yeah, you have to get your plumbing permits and your septic, but other than that, there's no building code
Right.
requirement. But if a town does, if they do decide to adopt a building code, then it has to be MUBEC. It's like the minimum
So
standard.
then the decision, when we're talking about housing and different types of housing, we need to look at whether we want to have a building code.
We have to.
We already have
Required
one.
by law.
And
We're
because
over
we have
4,000
4,000 people, we have to have MUBEC. It's
But
not an option.
We don't have an option.
But that doesn't mean that it can't be changed by
But we can
contacting
decide
people at the state.
how to make it easier for people to meet the thresholds of MUBEC.
Right.
Or we find developers who build the structures that
That
somehow this makes sense,
understand
so
that.
it's a reasonable cost, and then people just can move in.
Yeah. And-
So I think that's the point where we're at, where, you know, how do we make policies within both boards that are gonna further all the goals that are laid out for us in the comprehensive plan?
Exactly.
And so the meeting that is proposed is for the boards to meet together, have a joint session, and come up with 3 or 4 topics that we want the most public input on, or that would have the most significant input on. And then decide what those are, and then decide what the next 3 meetings would be to have those community events where we can discuss those. And that's where we
Yeah.
would have the facility.
And that's where we'll get how we want to structure those, a little bit of discussion in the time frame, and then I can hire a facilitator.
Yeah.
So my plan for tomorrow is to send an email to the planning board members and ask them to make sure that they check out number 3 or whatever it is on the agenda. And say, you know, go through the comprehensive plan. What areas would you like to see addressed if we have this committee? So
Absolutely.
we'll have at least something to start the discussion, and I would encourage you guys to do the same thing.
How often does the planning board meet?
Once a month.
Shouldn't they be meeting more
We-
though?
well,
We're
we
gonna
talked
start
about
doing
it,
this,
but-
everybody else meets, and once a month, isn't that kind of prohibitive to,
Elmira only meets once a month. We're dealing with that right now. It's very common in this area for once a month.
but,
But I think the planning board has the flexibility to have a special meeting if there's something that comes up in the in-between
Well, I'm just
time. And I
thinking-
would hope that they would be responsive to businesses if there was a time-sensitive type thing.
right,
I think over the
that's,
last couple of years, we've had a couple of extra meetings, maybe,
Yeah.
that we've done something.
Yeah.
So I really think that, you know, the meeting that we have together has the potential to be really important.
So once this gets going, and there are gonna be some reviews of the zoning, the maps and everything, there will be extra planning board meetings, probably workshops or specific
Yeah.
on topic.
Absolutely.
So,
We had a couple
counselors,
of dates.
yeah, counselors, I met with Catherine and we kind of looked at the calendar and we decided March is just too full of things and we have a lot of things on our plate with RFPs and things within the council. So we were looking forward to April, which would be looking at the Tuesdays in between our regular meetings. So if everybody's in agreement that this is a good idea,
we're looking at April 14th then?
14th or the 28th. You know, if we want to have time for the
28th.
counselors and the planning board members to really go through and review the plan and come up with some notes and suggestions
Yeah.
and topics, we might want to look at the end of the
28th.
month, because there's a holiday in there somewhere too.
I think that's a good idea.
How does
Yeah,
that work with
Easter
your
is
schedule?
Sure.
the 12th.
April 28th,
I think the I can do the 28th.
you having traveling
I think we
Amanda
should
or?
just-
I'm checking. Nope, I think 28th works for me. Don't see anything.
How about you,
that.
Pete?
I think I'm good. I don't have
It's
any-
sunny and warm that day.
I don't have anything that I know of.
And this is the combined,
Combined,
Combined.
This
right,
is
the
the
joint
council
meeting.
and the board.
so
What
you gotta check with his people too?
Yes.
I'll do that on Monday.
He said they were pretty flexible.
Yeah.
And we'll do 6:30.
6:30 is good.
Can we
That
do-
gives people
to keep
time
it
to
the
get
same?
here.
Can we do 6?
Can we stay at 6:30?
Okay.
Let's stay with
It's
6.
tough, if
I
people are
just,
working
I
till
know,
5, it's
it's
tough
gonna
to-
be a long conversation though.
No,
Well,
limit
hopefully,
it.
we're doing a little homework ahead of time, and that, you know, you're gonna come in with a topic, and somebody else is gonna say, I thought that one too, and we'll do like a little tally sheet, we'll all just throw out ideas. We'll do a little tally
Okay.
sheet and then go from that.
And just put a,
Really
let's put
try
a
and-
time limit on
yeah.
it, 2 hours.
8:30.
Yeah, 2 hours and we're not done, we just have another meeting.
So for the joint agenda, would you like me just to have it be an open topic discussion, or do we want to structure it a little bit? And we can talk about that. If you want to structure it, we could work.
Well, we have time for that, right? Make that
Let
decision.
me talk with,
I don't
Until
think
they
we
talk
need-
with
Talk
the
to
team on
boards.
Monday.
I think open
But I
discussion.
think
Open,
open
yeah.
discussion.
Just leave
I
it
think
as
we
an
could
open
just leave it.
discussion between the
Okay.
boards as a workshop. And that way, you know, if general public wants to come, they can, but we're not gonna really, it's gonna be the two boards talking for the most part, and then the public discussion will come later on.
So we need-
And that
so
might also condense the
We could
meeting a little.
set this, advertise this as a workshop. And
Yes.
then the audience will know that
Yeah,
they're not part of the conversation for that meeting.
right.
Okay.
And we can
I
set
think
rules
that's a
at
good
the
idea.
beginning of the meeting and.
So when's your next planning board meeting?
Monday.
Monday.
Monday?
Yeah.
So I have been applying for
7.
grant funding, which has implemented some of the items in the comprehensive plan, but it's based upon the amount of money that we have. So I
For
actually
match.
am working on a few little grants. I'll do tomorrow, so we'll see exactly what happens here. But to try to implement some of the little pieces in the comp plan,
Okay,
so I can make a list of that.
okay. All right, so we're all set, we'll have a meeting on the 28th of April.
And that's gonna be right here in the chamber?
Yes. Then people can hear what's going on at home, and maybe they'll get some interest in projects.
I
Okay,
think
April
when we get
28th,
to
6:30 PM.
after the first meeting, when we set the other meetings, we should reach out to some groups who have already been working, trying to do things through the comprehensive plan like HOP.
Yep,
So the last
To,
time,
you know, to reach out to them particularly.
right.
when we worked on the comprehensive plan the last time, we contacted all of the different groups in town. So we could just send out, like a email or a letter,
Yeah.
depending on the group, just so that all the organized groups know what's going on as an open invitation.
I like that idea.
But I think that it needs to be mentioned in that letter what the topic is gonna be for that night.
Well, I think that when we
When-
come up,
when we
when
get-
we have the meeting on the 28th,
Yeah,
we
we'll
can come up
have
with the
that.
topics, and then we'll assign a topic to each meeting.
Exactly.
And then send out one invitation with the
Yes.
3 dates and the 3 topics, 3 or 4 topics, and that
Right.
way everyone will know what it is.
And then we can always
we'll go
put
from there.
reminders on the website,
Yeah,
you know, and don't forget.
and announcing it at the meetings, announcing at your meeting, so, yeah, we'll make sure people know. And then, I think we should also try and contact, do you have like an email list for all the business contacts in town? Because it'd be a good idea to
Yes.
get all the businesses
Yeah,
notified
I
as
wrote
well.
that down.
So I may go out for that third ride sometime in the next week, so I'll take notes.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion on, about the presentation about the comprehensive plan and future projects, council?
But I think
When
it
are we
was-
looking to do the follow-up meetings?
When are we looking to do them?
Probably,
I
probably
think
at least
that-
2 of May and June.
Yeah, May, June. We're doing the first one at the end of April, so I think maybe end of May, middle to end of May, June,
Before
And then we have start
maybe skip
budget.
July. I don't know, we'll see. It'd be nice to get them all in before the Egg Festival because things get crazy Egg
Yes.
Festival weekend after.
Yeah,
But we'll
because
have
we'll be
to.
working on budget.
Right, and then we want to start looking at other things.
Yeah, let's
So-
say May and June.
And,
Can I request that we have the ability to join through connected stuff? Because I am gone the month of June pretty much.
Well,
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely.
Because I still want to take part of it, but I'll be in Montana and North Dakota.
Right. Yep, that would make it difficult.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
commute would be really
It would.
just.
All those miles you could rack up.
Okay.
And we'll have the live stream on too. And we can always do like a call in and just have an open phone line. That way you can listen in real time.
Yes,
But
we
it's
have
gonna
a
be
phone
like
now.
4 in the afternoon there, so you might be within your conference or whatever you're doing at the time. Could be a
Yeah.
time change. Yeah. Okay. We'll cross that bridge in June. Community and economic development activities and events.
All right, very good. On the community and economic development activities and events, we have a number of items on the agenda. For the audience at home, we would remind everybody that one of the best events in the world is coming up, the Easter egg hunt at the Pinnacle. Anyone who has not been should go, as it's quite exciting. This is the traditional Kiwanis Easter egg hunt held on Saturday, April 11th, 9 o'clock a.m. sharp, and it is sharp. It starts right off, and the children are running all around with the Easter Bunny. And there will be hundreds of eggs hidden, whether they're snow or not. We will have a prescription drug take-back day, one of the national days, which will be on Saturday, April 26th. There will also be free on-site shredding, so we're getting some details on that, as of course we got excited here in the office about that, and I'm sure many people would be excited. That shredding will be from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. and the prescription drug take-back day will be from 10 to 2. And surprisingly, with the secure container that we have here that people can use anytime that we're open, they still get tons of prescription drug take-back items across the state when it's all put together. It's amazing how
Yeah.
much medications are available that people don't use.
That takes place right here at the town.
Yeah, in the back parking lot, yes. And so people can always come in any day we're open and put things in the secure box, green container that we received through a grant from Healthy SB here. It's very popular, it gets used every day. The police then securely empty it and the items are picked up or taken down to Augusta to be disposed of properly. And so that's available to everybody all the time. There are a few restrictions on the items that can be dropped off. And then the prescription drug take-back day picks up a lot of other items of people that normally don't come in. So I had thought that these would stop after a while after we got the box, but there's still a lot of material, there's so many prescriptions that people don't finish out there or something changes. The next item is the bike rodeo that will be put on by the Kiwanis. The Pittsfield Area Kiwanis Club will hold a bike rodeo on Saturday, May 9th, 2020. The last 2 bike rodeos were here in town, and since this is our Kiwanis Club, the Pittsfield Area Kiwanis Club does serve the other communities in the area, that bike rodeo may be in another town this year because it's been here for 2 years in a row. And then we get down to our famous Central Maine Egg Festival. We're up to the 48th year. We're hoping to get to the 50th year and then perhaps change this a bit. So the 48th Annual Egg Festival will be held on Monday, July 6th through Saturday, July 11th. That includes the Kiwanis Carnival, a very important part of it. That will be from Wednesday through Saturday. And everything is coming together exceptionally well. The next meeting of the Egg Festival Committee will be on the second Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock. So that will be next week. And then other items, just 2 very quickly. First Park, which is the intergovernmental project of 24 communities that invested in a super park, which was a tech park at that time. This includes Pittsfield. They have sponsored a segment of Greenlight Maine. I had never heard of Greenlight Maine, and this is quite interesting. I was amazed by it. Greenlight Maine is a statewide collaboration of entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, designed to promote and mentor the development and growth of business in our state. Greenlight Maine is in its 5th year, and so First Park became a sponsor of the college season, which started in January. And so Greenlight Maine has contestants, so there'll be two businesses that compete against each other with new ideas for their new business, which has a business plan. They've got a little bit of money, but they need investment, so they will compete for $100,000 in cash. And it can be just regular businesses for the regular sessions, and this session that First Park sponsored, along with a few other groups and businesses, is for the colleges. So the students who have businesses, who are new entrepreneurs, will compete. And it just was fascinating on the items that they would come up with. So they can win $100,000, but even more important, all the other contestants that don't win the money, or even the contestant that does win, there will be angel investors who are watching, and they'll invest in their new businesses, and it's absolutely fascinating. First Park, because their involvement, the website has just sprung out of control, the Facebook page and everything. And so we've got some events in which we're meeting the different entrepreneurs, and that's probably one of the best investments that First Park has done. And so that program is on Sundays at 10 o'clock in the morning on News Center Maine, and then there's YouTube versions, and you can go in and look at it. But I'm not a TV watcher, but I just found that was just wonderful. And something I didn't even know about, and other town managers didn't know about, or economic development directors, so that was interesting. So we've been spreading the word. The second item and last item for economic community development. We signed up for business assistance from the Small Business Administration, so we're receiving emails with helpful information for businesses. And the messages are being placed on the town website. We've created a new tab called Business Tab, Business Tips. That's at the top of the homepage. And so when we go to the town's homepage at www.pittsfield.org, look at the top categories, click on the business one, and then scroll down to business tips. And so some of the items that we picked out, because you get a lot of choice, we have fund local business assistance, and there's some good ideas there. Fund your small business, good ideas. Grow your business through federal government contracting, that one's a little complicated. Be prepared, tips to keep your business running after an emergency, that was helpful. Lender match, that helps people find lenders. It was a little bit complicated, but did have some lenders there that were new. Grow your business through mentoring. 10 tips for small business Saturday success, that was an older one from last year, but it looked good. 7 simple ways to thank your customers. And then we did have one Twitter one, but that was probably a little bit beyond us here. It was how to learn Twitter for veteran entrepreneurs. And then we had marketing mistakes that can haunt your business, and gave tips on things to avoid. So these were all very, very interesting. And so we've got quite a few hits through that. We're working with a few small businesses. One will be bringing in plans so we can help them find some investment, because sometimes that is hard depending on the type of business that you have and how you set it up. And we should hear tomorrow on our community development block grant application letter of intent to apply for a grant for pop-on over the Nancy House. So we're hoping for good things tomorrow. I had a good interview over the phone with the Department of Economic Community Development. So we're hoping for good things. Thank you.
Catherine, is it possible to have an update on the website? Like what the month, do we have analytics on our website? I mean,
we can
beyond
look-
like
we
how
can-
many hits
we
we
can
get,
look
like
up
where
there.
people go.
We can look up to a certain extent.
It'd be interesting.
It may not, we can do that. It may not get as detailed as we'd like, but First Park got an additional program, so they're able to track things back to the city or the town, which for them is good.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to find out, all these people from Italy have been hitting the First Park website for a few months, and so they've tracked them back to find out what's going on and sent some information over. And figured out, the company that was interested. We can't get that detailed, but we can get some statistics. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting. Maybe
It
not
is.
next meeting, but the first meeting in April.
Yes.
Um,
And
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Can we add one more thing to that list, Catherine? The summer concert series?
Yes, when you get that information, we'll advertise it for you.
Well, you can start it now. We've got We're gonna start July the 2nd through the month of July and August. We're in the process of booking our last group. And so it's gonna be a pretty exciting summer.
So do you know?
Wednesday
the-
nights?
Thursday night, second
Thursday.
Thursday,
Yeah, it's good to have.
Starting
one day.
when?
July 2nd.
Second.
And we're starting that night with one of our top acts from last year. That most people really wanted to make sure came back, and that was Elvis. So
Everybody liked Elvis.
Donnie will be here, and then we'll kind of go from there. But we're set for every Thursday during July and August.
And
Except maybe the last one in August, because school will be in session.
So-
We're trying to get everything done before September, because we did Elvis back in September of last year, and that night was nice, but it was cool. So we're trying to get everything in there.
So this year, probably no September dates and likely not the last August Thursday.
At this point, but we're keeping that one open just in case we have, the real Elton John shows up. So,
Jan, the summer concert series has its own Facebook page, right?
we do.
So that will post the full, everything on there when it's
Barb and
ready.
I are getting together tomorrow, we're gonna start posting some of the acts for this year. Basically, what we try to do is have 4 or 5 of acts returning from the previous year or two, and 4 or 5 new ones. We've got 4 new ones this year that are pretty different.
Okay.
Different
It'll be
is
interesting
good.
to see the list when it comes out.
Different is good.
We're on to public hearings and old business.
Under public hearings and old business, we have order 20-04 tabled. Ordered that the town council amend the transfer station recycling center user fee system effective June 1st, 2020 for all users and start selling the new stickers on May 1st, 2020.
All right, councilors, we need a motion to remove this from the table.
Correct.
Move we take order 20-4 off the table.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor of removing 20-04 off the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? So order 20-04 is off the table, and we're going to address that. Any comments from the audience regarding this order?
No, I think the new
Oh, we
fee
don't do
schedule
orders.
sheet looks much better.
Charts are on the table.
Oh, I'm ready now.
I think it's reasonable.
Donnie was pretty thorough at the last meeting
I agree.
about the reasoning between why the changes needed to be made and trying to strike a balance between fairness and economics.
Yes, and he apologizes for not being here this evening still.
Well,
We're all
we
happy
don't want
that
him
he's
to
at
come
home
here
and
if he's
recuperating.
ill. So I just think that, so the sticker fee for residents is $20 and that's per year, correct?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
stickers are 1 year.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
Would you like me to add yearly transfer sticker fee?
Probably not, because we have things that are per
The
thing,
other
but
items.
if in this box here, the transfer sticker, it should say $20 per year,
Per
and then the $40 per year.
Mhm.
I think that's the big thing, just to indicate that that's correct.
Right, because we have per vehicle up above.
Yeah,
Per
and
ton.
then like you have 8 per year per,
All right, so we'll match that up like the other items. okay?
Yeah.
And I did take the color off. I know Donnie loved the color there, but for printing and.
Yeah, it looked pretty, but you
visibility.
couldn't read a couple of the columns.
Yeah, the colors look different depends on your printer.
Yeah.
well, and I don't think the colors really met 508 requirements, so.
It would not, no. So I did put also, I made a change to the chart by putting down the date this became effective,
Mm.
when the transfer station was open, and then when the new stickers would be available for sale.
The only thing I would add or change is we need to have maybe the office hours, the
Town office
town office
hours.
hours, because we do have the in case they needed to buy a sticker, so they know that.
Well, that's a good idea. Have stickers are available on sale and then right below that, town office hours.
Yeah.
And that the fees have to be paid at the office, not at the
Yeah.
transfer
Not at the
station.
transfer station.
Yeah, that should
So if they don't
definitely
have a
be that.
sticker or show a sticker, they can't come.
All right, so I'll make a sentence to add that information on as concisely as possible.
Yeah, but that's kind of a lot of information to pack in there, but.
I'll make it
Available at the town
We'll get
office.
it
They
on one
pay
page.
fees at the town office, and then here's the hours, so it's.
Because I can see, I think we kind of touched on it last
Yes.
meeting, if the office is closed on Wednesdays and somebody has a pickup load trash, it's gonna be this.
Or it'll be Saturdays, that's when it's
Or
gonna happen.
Saturdays, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's less
because they're
likely Wednesday
closed.
and more likely Saturdays.
So right now, they are coming in ahead. It's rare when somebody, because they're used to it, but now new groups will be hit by this. And so we had talked about all the little contractors that we knew about. We were going to contact them and send a copy of this and explain it out.
Well, we need to have some signage posted at the transfer station, like, as soon as possible, so we have a good month and a half,
Big, huge
2
signs.
months advertising this to everybody that goes to the transfer station.
I think another place to post this would be the community board over at Shop and Save.
Yeah, we have 7 boards that we
The
go to,
laundromat,
so
the
yeah, we'll do
library.
that. Yes, yes. There are a few places we can't go to because of corporate requirements, but we have 7 locations we can go to.
I bet the Redemption Center would let you hang it up, he gets a lot of traffic.
Oh, amazing traffic.
Yeah.
Any other concerns about the fee system?
I think they're fair.
Are we gonna put out an article, ad, a warning thing in the Rolling
We'll do
Thunder?
yes, we'll do all that.
Okay.
Just, abstaining from this vote.
Okay. That's okay, we still have 4.
So this doesn't go to public, this will go to public hearing, right?
No,
No.
orders are not required to go to public hearing, and when we change fee structures, it's been determined by the town attorney years ago, it would be an order. If it's actually in the ordinance book, like, for example, in the transfer station chapter, if the fees were actually listed in the ordinance, we would have to change it by ordinance, but it just refers to the fee schedule, so we don't have to keep going back and changing the book.
Any other questions?
This will be one of the most interesting subjects of the year.
Well, if this is all that gets interesting, we're doing good.
Yes.
All right, counselors.
Big news in Pittsfield.
Big news. Oh, sorry. Yogurt alarms apparently are not silenced.
Yogurt alarm?
I have yogurt incubating, so it does. He's on yogurt duty tonight.
Looking for a motion.
Yes, I'm looking for a motion to move on this.
Move we adopt order 20-4.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you. And Councilor Bolster is abstaining from this vote, so
Thought we
everyone
did.
else.
I thought we voted to table this.
No, we
We
voted
took
to
it off
take
the
it
table.
off
We
the
took it
table.
off the
Off the
table.
Oh,
We took
okay.
it off earlier.
Got
We took it off, we had
Yeah.
a conversation,
Sorry,
now we're
missed that.
moving.
It's a little different than usual.
All right, so now we're ready to vote. All those in favor of order 20-04 with the changes that we had discussed, and I don't think we need motions to make the changes to the fee schedule,
No.
it's not an motion. Okay, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? So that will pass, and that will take effect of June 1st.
Resolution 20-29, also tabled. Resolved that the town council approve the request for proposals to replace the sidewalk along Corners Avenue and behind the municipal building, and authorize the public works foreman to seek bids for same. And I had listed some information in your packet that this item is not completed due to the complexities out front. But we do have an engineer that is working with the Public Works foreman.
So we should keep this on the table then.
Yeah.
And remain tabled.
So move that we remove resolution 20-29 from the table.
Well, we wanna keep it
Well, we're
tabled.
gonna keep it on the table,
Oh.
so we want to pass over it.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
just- We'll just
We're not
leave
gonna
it
do
there
it
until
tonight
it's
because he doesn't
resolved.
have it right.
Or you could open up the motion, we just turn it down.
What
No,
do you
just,
wanna do?
or ignore it and it goes away.
Well, it'll be there on the table waiting.
No, I mean, what I said. If nobody else says anything, it goes away. Sorry.
Yeah, what we have is things all to follow the law perfectly. Everything does not fit in there. Right now, things are crammed in the area. And so there are some exemptions. You don't have to tear up a building to fit in your handicap accessibility, so the engineer is going to assist with this. We also have the issue of the severe, quick deterioration of Connors Avenue and how we're trying to do sidewalk.
That's fun.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
happened overnight. It was
Yeah.
very
It's all
bad.
happened overnight.
The freeze
Yeah.
thaw cycle this year is,
And
this is the worst
The
I've seen
giant
Library
pole
Street.
out here when you come into the parking lot.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, I know.
So, resolution 20-29, we're just gonna leave it on the table, nobody's gonna make any motions on that?
No.
So, alright, so that remains tabled. And we're on to reports, council committees, finance committee.
We are meeting next week at 5 o'clock on Thursday the 12th. That's all I have.
Alright, and ordinance committee, our meeting is Wednesday
The 11th,
at 11th at 6:30.
5:30,
5:30, is it?
I think we did, didn't we?
The
do
ordinance is
something?
what, at 5:30?
I thought we wanted to leave it at 6:30.
Oh, we did.
5:30. It is 5:30. That's straight.
I remember it was a different time
Okay,
for some
5:30.
reason.
I don't know why, don't remember why.
Pete's fault.
No, I don't remember.
So,
Can we
what
leave it at
time
six-
is
can
it?
we leave it at 6:30?
Well, I've got it down at 5:30, so I'm thinking it might be on the town website for 5:30.
No, 6:30.
It is at 6:30?
Oh, I have it at 5.
Wow,
You'd be early.
Alright,
all kinds of
everybody
different
pay
times.
attention, it's 6:30.
Okay.
Yes, that would be great. I
At
think
our
we
regular
throw it
time.
around different times. We also have other groups using the room prior to that, and other groups meeting in the building, so if it could be 6:30, that would be good.
6:30, the ordinance, so finance is Thursday at 6:30.
No,
No?
it's at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Good grief.
We have too many meetings.
Which,
And then
okay.
Wednesday is ordinance at 6:30. Alright, recycling committee. Tim's not here to give a report, so we'll wait and hear from him unless you know what went on.
Yes, that would be fine. We have, the recycling committee
Okay,
members
that's what I
are,
thought.
the recycling committee members are talking about a combined project for Arbor Day and Earth Day and the planting of some trees. We won't be able to plant trees for the Main Street project yet, which is another project. However, we're talking with several groups and combining forces for some nice tree plantings for the community. So there'll be more in the future.
And board and committee updates by town councilors and manager. I think that's just you, I don't think any of us have anything happening in bicentennial committee land?
Nope.
Not right now.
You mean you haven't accepted Maine's request to participate in their bicentennial?
I get your emails almost daily.
You're a wanted man. All right, Catherine, do you have committee and board updates?
Yes, very good. For the town manager's report, I've got a report on the theater included in that. So for future agenda presentations and items, at the next March meeting, we'll be processing an agenda item that addresses holding the public hearing on issuing a loan for the paving and other capital projects in the amount of $706,000, same as we did last year. This will allow $500,000 worth of paving and is later on our agenda to set to the public hearing at the March meeting, the later March meeting on the 17th. The Finance Committee will be meeting on March 12th. They'll review the list of roads recommended to be paved. Of course, we could pave everything and spend $5 to $6 million, but that can't be done. We have to prioritize for the $500,000 we do have. We'll also be looking at an RFP for paving that will be coming out. I scheduled that I put in your packet on the whole loan process and when everything is put in for bid for the banks and for the paving. So that will be coming up at discussion at the March 17th meeting, but approval at the April meeting. We have proposals for 2 smaller truck purchases that were authorized for bid that are out there and getting quite a bit of interest having 2 smaller vehicles together. We also, in having the last due date for the purchase of the excavator, come across a nice excavator, which would be a lease purchase. So we've got the information and done our best to reserve that for the meeting on March 17th. There also is a backhoe of interest. These are used, but we do not require a new excavator or a new backhoe if we get one that's in pretty good condition for the use that it will have, because we're not a company that's going to use it every single day. But all the departments could use the excavator, which has the lease purchase monies in the budget, which needs to be taken care of. And so that will be coming up at the meeting on March 17th.
So
Second-
will both pieces be coming up?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
As an
We've
order?
reserved them,
As an order?
but I will say if somebody comes in and says, I'll pay $200,000 for
It's
these
an
and I have
ordinance.
cash, that's just the way it goes. The
A what?
company will sell them.
Ordinance.
Do we reserve it
No.
by, like, giving them a letter of intent to purchase pending authorization by the council, or?
I gave them what I could do under the law, under the charter, so I've got them reserved as much as we can.
And that will be on the agenda as an order?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. The attorney had first said ordinance, and we were like, no, we've done this as an order before. We don't
Right.
have time for 2 meetings.
Well, we
It's in
already
the
The
budget.
whole, yeah, we don't want to miss the
We can do
deal.
it as an order.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be one meeting on the 17th. And in fact, we just found these, to wait till the 17th is not a large amount of time.
And so once, we give the approval on the 17th, then we can go ahead and complete the purchase? Or there's no like 30-day waiting like with the ordinances until things are going to effect? or
It's
anything?
much quicker with the order.
Okay.
We have some of the funds and the rest has to be a lease purchase. It goes through regular procedures, but the company that we would purchase from is used to those procedures because others have to do them too. Yeah. So that might work out very well, and so we shall see. Next item is the new town office hours, just to emphasize that to the public businesses that have not yet been down. The council decided after December 17th, 2019 meeting that the new Pittsfield town office hours would be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 8 to 5, as we've always been open for decades. And then Wednesdays would be closed. We apologize for any inconvenience that may cause. This is being done to allow for more time for work and projects, as we can't afford to go back to the total number of employees that we had years ago. And so this will allow for more efficiency and effectiveness. And in addition, frankly, we've been open more hours than anybody around for decades, and so now we'll be open 9 hours less. Number 3, on elections. We held the March 3rd presidential primary and special state referendum election, which was surprisingly busy. Almost everybody across the state ran out of ballots, and we were not unique in that. And so for the presidential primary election, Democrats had voted for a number of candidates, but there were a lot of candidates there. There were a lot of candidates there.
That's half of them I never even heard of before.
There were 301 votes cast, with Biden with 102 votes, Sanders with 79, Bloomberg with 63, and Warren with 41, and then everybody else had a few. Republicans, 285 votes for Trump. So 586 votes were cast for the Democratic and Republican candidates in that primary. Question 1 had a higher turnout by a couple of hundred votes. Question 1 dealing with the inoculations, yes was 292, no was 495. So we had almost 800 people came out, which is a lot higher than what projections were for everybody. And we saw people, a lot of new families here in town, new people that between all of us with all the years that we've been here did not recognize. So there's a lot of new families in town. So that's good. The other elections coming up, we have June 9th, state primary election, and a special election for Council District 2. Nomination papers will be available on March 16th, and the filing the deadline for nomination papers will be April 27th. Then we have November 3rd, which I can't even imagine how busy that's going to be. It might be, when I was in Herman, we had one massive election. It was the largest one that anyone had had as of that period of time. We had people all through the building, outside in the rain. There were lines way out. It was like you were at the university where the lines were all outside the building with people waiting to get in. So this one might be one of those. That will be a general or presidential election and potential state referendum election, I think it will be, as well as the regular council and school board elections. So basically this is a general election for the town. Number 4, upcoming caucuses. The Democratic 2020 caucus will be held on Sunday, March 8th. It will be here at the Pittsfield Town Office, here in the council chambers, 112 Somerset Avenue. The doors open at 1 p.m. Frank Gagan, who organizes this event, reminds us that daylight savings time starts that day, so make sure you set your clocks properly so you spring forward and come to the caucus day. The Republicans held their caucus last Saturday. Number 5, our recent energy RFQ, request for qualifications, received 2 proposals. They will be reviewed and addressed accordingly, and that was that huge RFQ that we have to go through. Number 6, board and committee vacancies. We have a number of vacancies due to term expirations, and unfortunately a few people did pass away. The following boards have openings: Airport Committee, Board of Appeals, Board of Assessment Review, Cemetery Trustees, Economic Development Committee Team, Housing Rehab Revolving Loan Committee, Pool Committee, and Recycling Committee. And I will say the Pool Committee is being combined in with the Pinnacle Park Board and the Parks and Recreation for discussion, so that likely may be combined. The Board of Appeals and the Board of Assessment Review are the ones that we really need members on. Those are requirements under the law. They're not other committees that are nice to have, or ones that we have that only meet if there's an application or an issue. But Board of Appeals and Board of Assessment Review are people like setting at meetings at which they analyze information. It's legally set up. And then they process items according to regulations, and that would be for you.
Are any of those missing town councilor positions?
The
Or
airport committee could use a town council liaison, and housing rehab revolving loan could. That's the housing rehab revolving loan is the one that requires that you have to not be approved for your project by any of the banks, and have to provide 3 letters. So basically it hasn't had a lot of activity because people have been able to go get loans, but that has a vacancy for a counselor, and the airport committee does. Next item, number 7, Pittsfield Community Theater. We love our theater and need to have people support the theater by filling the seats. As you know, the theater is closed on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. Generally has matinees on Sundays. The theater conducts regular evening movie showings and many special events. And I guess we're going to have a wild one shortly. We have Delicious Drag Divas coming up on April 25th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10, and Individuals that attend must be 15 and over. So that will be something different, something very different.
15 and over?
15 and over. That's what it indicates, and I will check that.
50 and over.
Well, I was thinking, that's weird.
Yeah, I looked at that.
I'm thinking I just heard that.
It's a strange number. We'll have to check a little bit on that. So for movies, we have Friday evening, Bad Boys starts at 7 p.m. And then on the days that we're open, that will finish next Thursday. And then on the following Friday, which is the 13th, The Call of the Wild will start. The following Friday, the 20th, is Downhill. And then on the 27th, we don't have a movie scheduled that far out. It's hard to schedule these too far out. So that one will be filled in shortly. So those are, I've been told, all good movies, ones I haven't heard of. But that means that people should go. The theater's also looking for volunteers. So they're still accepting applications for volunteers, and that would be to assist in the box office, which is interesting, and with prep and cleanup of the theater. That may include both weekly movies and special events. If somebody or individuals are interested in this, they have great customer service skills, love the community theater, and are available, they can sign up by going to the Pittsfield Community Theater website, and there's a form that people can fill out. Number 8, all of the regional meetings have started up in full force here. That involves everything that we're involved in, so that's been interesting. The next meeting coming up, which people might be interested in, and if you are, let me know and we can call ahead and you can attend. The Kennebec Valley Council of Governments Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy meeting, and this is strategies for the use of federal funding for the area, and so that would be our Kennebec, Somerset, and part of Waldo County. That organization will be holding on March 10th the 2020 census in your community. And so we will be having the speaker from the field division in New York coming up to talk to us. And of course, you know, your count and making sure that everybody is counted that's in your community affects federal dollars. And so it's very important that this be done properly. And areas of town can be missed, which I'm familiar with, and trying to get your figures updated. And the last item is number 9. The 2020 Maine Governor's Conference on Tourism will be held on April 15th to 16th. And the counselors that were interested have submitted their information, so there'll be a few of us going, and if anyone else is interested, just let me know by noon on Friday, March 6th, and we'll sign you up. We're going to divide up the program and make sure we get everything covered that looks like it could be helpful for the town. Thank you. So going on, we'll be going to new business. Ordinance 20-01 to be set for public hearing on March 17th, 2020, that the town of Pittsfield hereby ordains the borrowing of up to $706,000 to finance costs of the paving of public roads and capital improvements in the town, and in order to raise said amount, general obligation bonds and/or notes shall be issued in a total aggregate principal amount not to exceed $706,000, and the treasurer and the mayor shall determine the date, maturities, denominations, interest rate or rates, place of payment, paying agent, and registrar. Form and other details of the bonds, including the signing and delivery of said bonds on behalf of the town. The bond shall be executed in the name of the town by the treasurer, by its treasurer, and countersigned by the mayor, and be in such form and contain such terms and provisions not inconsistent herewith, as the treasurer and mayor may approve, their approval to be conclusively evidenced by their execution thereof. The treasurer and mayor are hereby authorized to provide on behalf of the town that any of the bonds may be made redeemable or callable, with or without premium prior to maturity. The treasurer, mayor, and other proper officials of the town be and hereby are authorized in its name and on its behalf to do or cause to be done all such other acts facts and things as may be necessary or desirable in order to effect the issuance, sale, and delivery of the bonds herein above authorized, including any certificates and other documents as may be necessary or appropriate in connection with the sale of the bonds. Whew.
I move we accept ordinance 20-01, sorry.
Thank you, Matt.
Second.
Thank you, Deb. All right, so we are discussing this, it'll be set to public hearing on the 17th if we vote in the affirmative. Any discussion from the audience regarding ordinance 20-01? Counselors? Please.
Because this is just being set to public hearing, right?
It's just to set it to
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yeah.
The finance committee's gonna
The real
review
discussion will be
this
the,
at the public hearing or
Yeah.
before, yeah. The finance committee will be looking at this, next week on Thursday at 5 p.m.
5 o'clock.
We'll keep repeating it.
A little lunch are going there.
So where is that money being borrowed from?
That's what we're gonna talk about. Whether it's the municipal bond bank or going through the private banks.
Depending on
Last
we
year we
get
went,
the best deal.
last year we went through the private banks because it was an accelerated, lending process, a
Oh, it
lot
was-
less
It
paperwork.
was so much
And
easier
still a
than
pretty good rate.
usual, yes.
Um,
We got good rates. As long as we get a good rate, it's good to go with the commercial banks. If the rates all of a sudden were outrageous, we'd have to move on to the Maine Municipal Bond Bank and do either borrow from ourselves or get an interim borrowing, because their second borrowing of the year will bring the funds in around the end of October and be available. The other avenue with the Maine Municipal Bond Bank is that we would have, at our first meeting on January 2nd or what have you, would have had everything all set up and have to go forward, and that was just too early.
So if we go
So
with.
is this looking to be borrowed from the Pittsfield Future Fund?
Correct. The payments will come, the payments for the debt service, which will be, for this one, the first payment will be in May of 2021. That monies would be drawn from the Pittsfield's Future Fund. And the loan that we got last year, the first one, 2019 borrowing, its first payment will be coming up due in May of this year.
And so is my understanding that there's only this time and one more time that that money can be borrowed on?
We're gonna have to decide how many times we want, how much we want to take from the Pittsfield's Future Fund and when the monies will run out. Right now, if we have if we went for 3 borrowings, the monies would run out in 2028 if the interest rates were the same and we borrowed the same amount of money. And so that may change a bit. We'd have to decide, do we really want to borrow again for a 3rd year and pay for it from that fund and then have it run out? Or do we want to put the borrowing in and have it paid by taxation? Probably not. Or do we want to borrow, and we have so much to do with the roads? I mean, we could borrow forever. There's only a certain amount of borrowing that we can do. So that will be something we'll have to decide on in this budget period coming up.
I was gonna say, I personally don't think it's a good idea to borrow
Hmm?
for that money to use it on roads.
Well, that's a discussion I think we're gonna have multiple times.
Yes, you
towards-
will.
From July on, probably.
Yes,
It's
it will.
something we'll discuss a lot. And we went round and round about it last year,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've said.
whether or not to
Yeah, me
to
too.
do that this year again. So, but tonight, we don't have to make that decision, we are just deciding to set it to public hearing. And we'll have a finance committee in the meantime to look at the options.
You gonna come to that one?
Look at the
It's
paving
at 5,
plan.
right?
Aye.
Yeah, I think I can make that.
It's good to do some borrowing, but you have to decide what is the extent you want to go to.
Right.
You know, I think we'll be at that
Absolutely,
point for that
and
decision.
I think the community needs to be aware of how that all works, because the money does run out. Eventually, we get to a point where we still need to fix roads or do whatever, and we don't have any money, so it does go to the taxpayers.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
And it has been discussed at length, and we have the option of having this, and the minutes are available, so all those discussions have been captured, so the
Yeah.
information's out there. It's
And
on-
before this, there were lengthy discussions at council meetings on, the councilors at that time did not want to borrow, so, we didn't pay for a few years.
So any other discussion about whether or not to set this to public hearing? Okay, let's vote on this. All those in favor of setting ordinance 20-01 to public hearing
Did-
on 3/17.
Did we actually
2020?
have a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, Matt.
Yes, Matt,
Yep.
and
And
you
you seconded
seconded
it.
Did I
it.
second it? Okay. I'm losing track.
All right, all
It's
those,
so,
all those in favor of setting this ordinance to public hearing on March 17th, which would be our next meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, so that passes.
Resolution 20-35, resolve that the town council approve the request for proposals for borrowing for the financing of the 2020 capital improvement plan in an amount to not exceed $706,000 and authorize the town manager and deputy treasurer to seek bids.
And we need a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 20-35.
second.
All right.
This is as long as the public hearing goes well next week.
Correct. Correct. Yes, I just put it together with this. I'm not issuing that as a document at this time. I just put it together so that we can see exactly what we're doing.
Any discussion from the audience regarding resolution 20-35? Counselors, any questions?
So the certificates in our yellow package that we signed, those are for just public hearing
Yes, to set to
Yeah.
public hearing.
and
Right.
just
And to seek bids.
in the C bids.
Yeah, which I'm not going to issue until the appropriate time. I probably won't issue that till April because, as I noted on the agenda sheet, some of the banks don't like to keep the rates that they indicate for very long. They'll say it's only good, even though we say it has to be good to a certain date, they'll limit it. So we want to move it forward. Let's say that the public hearing takes place on 3/17. You say you agree that you want to borrow. The ordinance actually goes into effect on April 17th. So we want to make sure the bids came in after April 17th, because then we don't have a long period of time that the bank has its bid here, and then they want to withdraw it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution 20-35, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right, and that passes.
Resolution 20-36, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the contract to construct stormwater controls for 6-unit T hangar and apron under the Airport Improvement Program AIP project number 2-23-0036-01 blank 2020, because we haven't gotten the grant yet, between the town of Pittsfield and Hoyle Tanner and Associates HTA in an amount to not exceed $97,000, with the final amount of the project to be approved by the Federal Aviation Administration FAA grant award, and to authorize the transfer and expenditure of PIT number 21, this is Pittsfield account 21, in parentheses G-1-611-00, parentheses, Airport Improvement Reserve funding for the project cost prior to grant award, and further upon receipt of grant funding from the FAA and Maine DOT, the Airport Improvement Reserve shall be reimbursed.
I move we adopt resolution 20-36.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion about resolution 20-36 from the audience? You guys don't have much to say tonight. All right. Counselors, discussion regarding this authorization.
This is the stuff that was already in the budget anyway, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
that's what I
put
thought.
funding toward this, and then under this type of grant, because it's not for a safety item, they require, before the grant is awarded, that the town has to pay all these bills and then we get reimbursed. So we would use the reserve fund and we already got it.
So the $27,000 is, we have to pay that up front,
Yes.
and then we get reimbursed from it?
Yes.
Like,
And
a
the-
lot of federal programs are like that anyway, you pay it first and then you.
Yes.
Any other questions, council? All right, let's vote on resolution 20-36. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Then that will pass. And
We are at resolution 20-37, resolved that the town council appoint directors to the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation, PEEC.
any motion?
I move we adopt resolution 20-37.
Second?
Thank you. Audience, anything to say about resolution 20-37? And Councilor Billings was interested in being appointed to PEEC, and I had also mentioned that I would be willing to serve on that as well. Catherine informed me that as the mayor's position is an ex officio
Yes.
member of every committee, and that would include PEEC. So that means that the mayor does not need to actually take our director's position. So that means there's still 2 directors' positions that are open. Any comments from?
So meaning because you're the mayor, you're kind of like entitled to be there anyway.
Yes.
And like-
At any of the meetings?
Pretty much any meeting, you can be, like, you're considered a member of any board.
Yeah, on the.
Finance or-
On the council committee.
Or any of the town
Yeah.
committees? Same thing, you know, she just wants to
Um,
see where they're at,
Yeah.
Now, how long is the appointment for?
infinite.
I had that question too.
Yes, so then, what we'll need to do is this 2-step process. The first step is because the town is the only member of this local development corporation started in 1995, there is an appointment process at this level. And then at the peak meeting, the directors will elect members. And so we'll go through that process and determine the lengths of the terms. And then they'll do the officers too.
The reason I ask that is because
Yeah.
right now you're mayor, but that doesn't mean you'll always be
Right.
mayor. So if it's an indefinite thing,
Mhm.
couldn't she still put her name in? That's my question.
Well, there might be,
Unless you're doing only a 1-year appointment. That's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what
wondering-
we'll have to determine when we have the directors meeting, because they really should be yearly terms of a certain nature, and they've always been forever. And so that's something they're going to have to discuss.
Do they have anything in their bylaws about the term of appointments?
There's
Usually like,
conflicting language in all the regulations, which
maybe
is
they
how,
need to redo their bylaws.
which is how this all started out. I had asked about this when I came, and I was told that there's no terms, but I have found documents that say there's terms, and I found documents that say there aren't terms. And so this will all need to be resolved, which the directors will need to resolve themselves.
and that won't happen until they'll have one director that's in Mexico.
I'll be back next month.
Yes, now, we did check, Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation is able to do telephone discussions.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
it's, the only ones prohibited are the standing boards, which are Town Council, Board of Selectmen, the Board of Appeals, because that's under the state laws, a standing board of judiciary nature,
Right.
and the planning board, same thing.
So what is the function of this? What would,
Yeah, so the function of this.
if one signed up for it, what would?
Yes, so I will read the exact function, and you'll see that it's very widely dispersed as to what economic community development is. This is a very tiny print here. This corporation is formed for such charitable, educational, and athletic purposes as are permitted to organizations exempt from federal income tax and described in various sections of the Internal Revenue Code, or any succeeding internal code, to foster, encourage, assist, support, and promote the development, establishment, settlement, or resettlement within the town of Pittsfield, Maine, of industrial, manufacturing, fishing, agricultural, recreational, or other business enterprises for the purpose of stimulating economic growth in the town, in part by providing support incentives for businesses to construct and expand facilities incorporating new techniques, combating community deterioration, industrial, commercial, lessening the burdens of government, providing for increased employment for the citizens of the town, and providing for increased tax base within the town, and as the corporation shall constitute a local development corporation. Very wide. So basically, Peak has been designated a number of years ago to handle the economic development of the town, and has worked on a lot of the larger projects and a few of the smaller projects.
They helped to fill Park, the industrial park.
Oh, yes, yes, to the point where we have no lots to
And
sell
now
anymore.
we have to find new space.
Correct, and that's where we need to look at the zoning.
We don't have any, well, that's another discussion, but, okay.
So a very wide mission.
Yes.
Where did that money initially come from?
For Peak.
Where
We
did
have
what?
seed money funding for that.
Could you repeat the question, because I didn't hear you?
Where did that money
Funding.
initially come from?
What
Where was
money?
the funding
For
from?
Peak. Initial funding for Peak.
I would have to check, but I believe that most of the monies for the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation came from monies that were paid back to the town of Pittsfield for some industrial revolving tax increment financing and loans. But I have to check back. I did some analysis for some of the federal projects that we applied for, and I found a lot of the information. I don't have the exact figures with me, but there were some paybacks that the town had. And then Peak was granted by the town certain properties which they sold, and the monies went back to Peak, of which all properties have been sold.
So does the town
A couple
have
of
the
combinations.
ability to grant, say, a tax acquired property that we're
That
having
nobody wants to
difficulty to
buy?
sell to Peak and have them do something with it?
Good
Like
question. Good
clean up
question.
the site and then sell it?
It would be good if the town council and the Pittsfield Economic Expansion directors sort of agreed on things. So far they have all these years. I have been told that they're not interested in tax acquired properties, just so you know. But we should try to sell the tax acquired property in accordance with the town's tax
Yes, but
acquired
when that doesn't
policy
work.
first.
When that doesn't work.
Yeah, 'cause we
So
have one,
far,
right?
it has worked, because we have sold them in accordance. We do have a property that needs some cleanup that's out of town, that if the rubble was taken away and the departments are looking at it, we'll be able to sell that because the house is in good condition. We do have one property that's down here in the center of town with trees growing up in the barn and house, and I'm not sure where that's going. But we'll have to at least bid it out twice before we see if we want to do something else with it.
And are we getting close to the point that that's gonna be happening?
Yes, we've learned that if we put the bids out, we used to rush out, put the bids out in, January, February, and then get hardly any bids. So once the snow is off the ground, we do quite well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or discussion about the appointments to Peak? I guess one appointment tonight.
So one will be Deborah's, and then you're ex officio member anyway.
And we still have one open seat.
We have one, yes,
Which
one
should be
available.
filled so that there's an odd number of people on the board instead of an even number.
Yes, that would be good. I will say for many years, Pete went with 3 members, and we encourage them to, you know, move on here, and we got more members on.
Okay, so we,
What kind of a meeting schedule is there for them?
yeah,
As needed. So far in the history, they normally, just because it's been business owners, retired business owners and counselors and former counselors, they met during the day. Sometimes in the morning, then some groups would meet in the afternoon. It depended on the schedules, really. So if people's schedules required it at night, it probably would be at night.
And everything that happens in the committee is confidential.
Yes.
Which is why they don't submit minutes, because if, say, they have a deal in the works, they don't want that information out there until the deal closes, because if it's out there, it could jeopardize whatever they're working on.
Yeah, the whole purpose why the.
I asked Mike Gray why they did that and why they didn't do like other committees, and that's what he told me.
So the whole purpose that the organization was put together is there were some properties here that people were looking at, and businesses that, there are many businesses that do not want to come to the town and go through the town process, and business owners, of course, many of you would understand that. And it also takes a long time with the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation. If they own property, they can sell it quickly, whereas if the town's properties are being sold and they've done recommendations, it requires a public hearing. And I will tell you, any business owner that we tell that, you know, they're like, why do we have to do this? You go through the, you know, whole explanation, and then why does it have to be 2 sessions and it takes a month and all of this.
Any idea on the meeting schedules, like once a month, twice a month?
It's as
As
needed.
needed.
Yeah, as needed. They can
No, but
meet.
what have they done in the past?
Yeah, in the past, there have been periods of time when they haven't met for a few months, and then all of a sudden they'll meet weekly. It will just depend on the subjects and the projects that are going on. There's a big, massive project that is being looked at. It's down the road. If that does come to pass, it would be absolutely wonderful. And that one will require, you know, intensely moving fast, but it's a ways down the road if it happened.
and I would think that the board of directors would tailor the meeting schedule to,
Yes.
you know, the board of directors being able to attend.
Right.
You know, and that's another reason why I have like a full board too, is that if somebody can't come or somebody's out of town or something, then there's enough people for.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Sometimes they
Surprisingly-
meet during the day
Yeah.
because they have to meet with
Right.
The
whoever
business people.
is involved in the process.
Jan, did you have a question?
And this position needs to be filled by somebody in the council.
I didn't
No.
hear that.
Does it need to be filled by someone on the council?
No, but the council's history has been that they've either had business owners, past business owners, or counselors, or past counselors. I think just because of understanding of the town and history of the
How
town.
long has Peak been around? When was it formed?
1995.
So it's not that long.
No, it's because there were some massive deals that were being talked about, and frankly, many businesses don't want to come to a town council meeting, then have it, you know, all talked about, because that's their business. And that was a period of time when there were several tax increment financing districts were created. There were some grants that were applied for. That was a really busy period of time.
So some of the funding through Peak came through those channels of funding, either grants
I
or.
believe through one funding source from the federal government, and then because they were given some properties by the town through ordinances, then the monies that they received for the sale of those went to Peak, and then that built up their account.
So what are the members' duties or their roles that they fulfill on this?
So the directors do research, they meet with business owners, they call up business owners. I've given out a few projects. We've been trying to assist a few people with dilapidated commercial industrial properties to move along here and try to find people, business that might invest in that. They have gone to grant meetings, met with the business owners, talked to business owners about financing, flown down to, gone out of state to meet with a couple of business owners, call up different business owners during the week. Different projects.
Who's ever on the committee has to have a flexible schedule.
Yes, that is true.
Because the meetings are sometimes during the day,
Mhm.
if they're meeting with prospective buyers.
Yeah, since we've sold everything, it's been a little quiet, but we're trying to push along some of the properties that people, they're not attractive,
Yep.
commercial industrial properties, and the people have unrealistic figures on them. And then there are some people that just have, there's a couple of 3 properties in town where they're tax write-offs, and, it's their personal property, so we can't make them sell it, even though we'd like it sold. So it's very interesting.
I had interest, but I think I'm due to scheduling. I don't think I can take that on at this time.
Oh, you could do it next year.
Yeah.
Matt or Amanda, any interest in?
Yeah, I'm sure I should add that to my schedule.
It certainly interests me, but, I have enough going on right now, so.
I think probably the director should fill that last seat with another business person.
They can do some recruitment.
Right.
Yeah,
I think we need to do some recruitment either from other counselors that have served or businesses within the town.
it's my understanding Tim is on there,
Yes.
and then Bob Stackhouse, I think is gonna stay on there.
Yes. So the current peak directors are Michael Gray, Gary R. Jordan Jr., because you don't need to be a resident. And Gary is looking at moving back, which would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Timothy P. Nichols, Bob Stackhouse, myself, because I'm the treasurer of the town, so that works out good for all the activities. And of course, I do the minutes. And then it would be yourself, when appointed this evening. And then ex officio member is the mayor.
So there's still one seat
Correct.
available.
If you went
so-
to the highest amount, it's 3 to 7. So if you did, there's one seat available.
Cool.
Okay, so this evening we have one name to approve, and that's Councilor Milne. So, are you ready to vote on this item? Okay. All those in favor of appointing Councilor Billings to serve on the peak, or how do you phrase that? Is she serving on the peak board, or are we recommending her to peak?
You're
as peak councilor?
appointing her, and then the peak directors will have an election.
Okay. All right, so to appoint Councilor Billings to the peak board, please say aye. Aye. Any nay?
And
All right.
abstention.
And you abstained. Okay.
Oh, why?
I felt weird when the election and I was checking my own name off.
I did too.
It just feels weird.
All right, very good. Discussion items, there are none. So the next item is reports from the audience and council.
All right, audience, anything to report this evening? Jan?
And a couple of things, actually. I meant to look it up before I came to the meeting tonight. What's the minimum hourly rate for pay right now? Is it $10 an hour?
12.
$12 an
And then
hour.
it-
Earlier, pardon?
I said, and then it goes adjusted by inflation after that.
So $12 an hour. So earlier in the evening, as you were talking about all of the committees that had vacancies, when you stop and think about it, a lot of things that happen in this town are done by volunteers. That if you didn't have the volunteers, you might have to pay something. So you may want to think about how much money you might be saving because they are volunteers. And the one group that I'll just highlight, that spends a lot of time around town making Pittsfield look nice is the garden club. And they devote a lot of time. If you had to pay them, I think it would be kind of astronomical. My point in mentioning this is that maybe something needs to happen to give some recognition to the people that serve on committees. I don't know what that would look like, but it would be nice if maybe there was some kind of an event at some point in time in the year when everybody that served on a committee was invited to a coffee, a breakfast, whatever, something, but, as kind of a little thank you for, and I think you might be surprised that eventually you're gonna get some other folks that might be willing to volunteer. And I just throw that out as a consideration for something in the future. My second point is that, and I think it's been discussed in the past, but I may have slept through it, but I did a little research today. I think it would be really helpful because there are a lot of people in town who don't necessarily have access to computers and to Pittsfield.org, where they can go to their computers and look up when things are happening. And I mean, it's not the best example, but I guess what I'm thinking about is the sign that's out in front of the Palmyra office that has, meeting tonight and kind of an announcement board. And so I did a little research on what those cost, and I was kind of surprised that they are not that expensive.
The electronic?
Yeah, the electronic boards. And we could probably do something out in front.
Clinton has a nice one.
Pardon?
I said Clinton
Yes, they
has
do.
a nice one.
And we could probably do something out in front, or whether you mount it on the building, or the one in Palmyra is a two-sided one, but if you didn't want to do that, put something in the front, and in the material that I looked at today, I mean, you can run 50 or 60 things that recycle through there.
Right.
And you could probably do something.
And you program it yourself to what it's going to say.
To what it's going to
And
say.
I've heard
And
they're
they're
pretty
really,
easy.
for maybe $1,000 to $1,500, that might be worth a decent investment, so that when somebody's racing to work in the morning or racing home from work and they see up there, oh my God, there's a meeting tonight, that it just might be the way to get some information out there.
Would that fall under our sign ordinance, though? Would that be too big?
I'll make sure it passes.
We do have a new kiosk out back here
Yes.
for announcements too.
Yeah, but this is something that I think would flow, and people could actually see it. And I would
Yeah.
put it, personally, I'd put it on the front of the building, because a lot of people, yes, they'll drive through here, but a lot of people, go up and down Somerset Ave.
Yep. Good
So
suggestion.
those, I think those
I
are
think it's
just,
a good suggestion. I think we should start looking
So
at
that's
the
an
different
item,
kinds and
Yeah.
prices
yeah,
and.
that's an item that we had suggested as part of the additional items
Yeah.
under the budget, and it was not one of the items approved because there were so many items being
So we
recommended.
just
no, but
put it back on that list again for this
see,
year.
I would, but Catherine let the cat out of the bag when she talked about how the money at Peak could be used as an economic development thing.
What is?
And maybe
That Peak could
that Peak
sponsor
could,
the sign.
Peak could sponsor the sign.
Yeah, that definitely is up to Peak.
Yeah, but I think that I think they're, but the other side of the coin is also that there may be somebody out there, or some people out there that might be willing to volunteer too. Because I was shocked, I thought they were gonna be really expensive. And, it's not like ones that, about a football stadium or a hockey match or something like that.
The ones that work properly, that intertwine with your computer system, are a bit more expensive.
But I think it's just another way of getting the word out there in terms of those things that are happening in town.
I've heard a lot of people say the same thing, and you're seeing them pop up everywhere, even in small towns.
Well, it's something that we can look into doing. The other thing that we need to think about is the structure of the front area up there, and where it could or couldn't go, and where it wouldn't be blocking, because there's an intersection there.
Yes.
Well,
Who
I-
owns the
That's-
industrial park
Okay.
sign?
Hmm?
Does the town own
Mhm.
the
We
industrial
do
park?
own the industrial park sign, yes, the largest sign in the world.
That'd be a great place to.
Well, that's what I think. Putting it out here is not gonna be helpful, because you'd have to put it on the face of the building. Nobody's
You can't
gonna see
it
that.
driving by.
But the
But they
industrial
make
park
them.
sign is right over there by Duncan
Well,
and by
right.
the gas station. It's right off the highway. That's probably the most visible spot.
Yeah.
Well, those are all things we can decide if we
Yeah,
actually want to have a
we'll
sign.
talk about it.
But I guess those are the two items that I would kind of.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
say on the sign business, I looked into the town of Clinton sign just today. I asked Jay Galusha's, the part of the Lions Club who donated the sign. He said that sign was $16,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, yeah.
Yeah,
The one that
but
came
the
to
good
stands
ones,
about the
yeah,
size.
the good ones
It's
are
like
that.
tall,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
I
one
don't
close
think-
to the
I don't
ground,
think
so
they
it's
get something
up, and
like
so
that
it
ladder,
can
but
be,
there's something
and it's
out
not
there.
really that big, but it runs a banner.
All right, so the sign is one of the items that the staff's very interested in, and so we do have information, so we've got to resolve, first of all, the sidewalk situation, the handicap accessibility, what's gonna be left in the front yard, if that's gonna be the location, so we'll work on that one first. I'll leave the sign on the list for the next budget,
Thank you.
Okay.
which is, we like the sign idea.
And my last one is, I went out of town today for a few minutes, and we came back, and riding through other towns, it was nice to see that if there was a frost heave a few feet ahead, there was a little sign there that said bump.
A little warning.
I don't
Yeah.
think enough signs.
We're gonna have to have several hundred of
And,
them.
maybe because the next 3 weeks are gonna be just a bear. And, if we could get some, just put them on a wooden stake and put them in the ground.
We did join the KB cog bid for the signs, and they'll be in shortly.
You have anything tonight, Joe? No? All right, counselors, Amanda, do you want to start?
Sure. First of all, thank you guys for coming. Also, I really like the idea of a digital sign. I think that it's moving into the future, and we need to do that, especially if we're looking at attracting people to come in. For me, it's less of people don't have the internet and more of it's just part of what towns are doing to attract people.
It's a reminder.
Yep, it's a nice reminder. And I had something else, but it's gone, so it wasn't important. That's
Well,
it.
if you think about it, then. Matt?
I just want to thank the 2 lovely audience members we have today for coming in. Lovely. Jan,
Because you did your hair.
I like Jan's idea of the sign. I think $16,000 is probably out of our budget, because I asked about that. I really like that sign,
It's
but
gorgeous, but.
something like 5,000 maybe would be more like.
Unless we can get a sponsor.
Right, yeah, sponsor, fundraising, who knows what may happen. So I really like that idea as well. And because I feel if I was not involved with the council or anything, like, I wouldn't know. I mean, I looked before when I first came to town, I didn't know when a council meeting was or when a planning board, like, I had no idea. So I think that would be a really good idea. Also, I'd like to have in the monthly reports we're getting from the department heads, I'd like to see something from the highway department about, like, I think they would be due, so the end of March would be the next time we'd hear something? maybe?
March 17th, there'll be reports.
Okay, so maybe it'll have to be next time. But I'd like to hear something about our winter sand, just because I'm thinking we're winding down winter. I know it's kind of a joke, because could be snowing again, who knows, but maybe by April we know. I know we spent a lot more money than we usually do on winter sand, and I'd kind of like to know if that was a big improvement, like did we use less or more or less complaints, or if there's any kind of data
Did we buy
behind that.
better sand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to see, in the yellow folder, what do you call those papers, the actual resolutions
And orders?
and orders? I believe when Tim was mayor, it listed Tim mayor, and right now it's just saying Heather Donahue as counselor. I'd like to
Oh,
see
okay.
that reflected that she is mayor.
Yeah, I'll talk to the staff, I haven't even looked at
I
them.
never even noticed that, just sign them.
It just says mayor and then deputy mayor for the.
Yeah, yeah, I'll speak to the staff member that does those.
So I know it's kind of like we were up in the air there for a few weeks, but now we're pretty solid on everyone. It's kind of a minor thing, but. And that is it. Thank you.
Pete?
I don't have anything to add.
Oh, come on.
Well, thank the audience.
There you go.
Lovely.
This would have a lot at the ordinance meeting.
All right. Deborah?
Just a couple of things. First, thank the audience for coming and being here tonight. Catherine, I mentioned this earlier about signature stamps, and Catherine's gonna find out if we can push the auditors to
Yeah,
get
waiting
an
on the
answer.
top auditor there.
And I like the sign idea. I have for a long time. My husband's complained about, not complained, but has mentioned numerous times over the years about having a sign. And I think it'd be a good idea.
So the finance committee members that like the sign will have to vote for it.
Absolutely. Then, this flyer here that was put together by Heart of Pittsfield with the different organizations in town. I really like that. I think it's a great idea. Something to put in when we start redoing welcome packets. I think this would be a nice addition to that. So I want to say thank you to Hop for doing that.
I did attend their last meeting and thank them for the books, and they were talking about the cost to copy them, so I told them, because it's a lot to go to printers, I told them we would rerun them for them when they needed them, and we needed them. I just wouldn't be able to do the color. We can do colored paper, but not the color on the front. So they were all set with that.
They were all right
excited
with that?
Yeah, they were
I
happy
kind of
about it.
like the color though.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes it stand out from other stuff.
Yeah, I guess it was quite expensive when they had those done. They went to a printer.
It's unbelievable how much extra adding a little
Add
color.
Colors.
Yeah, I did all of my prints for meetings and stuff in black and white because of that reason.
But you can put it on colored paper, like a
Yes,
paper
yes,
instead
we-
of color.
We should have a bunch of those for the Egg Festival time.
Oh, definitely. These are very good. They go like hotcakes.
Well,
I
we-
went specifically to their meeting to compliment
There should
them
be some
for it.
kind of welcome table that's like, welcome to the town of Pittsfield kind of thing. I know they have their little area when you go in that has where you can do the raffles and stuff. In addition to that, we could have something there, I think.
And every counselor can take a slot of time.
Yeah, we can take
Meet and
shifts
greet
and be
people
like,
and
hey,
say hello.
it's a meet your counselor kind of thing.
I like that. Anything else, Deborah? Oh, she got up.
I still
I'm not
have one
shaking
more
your
item.
hand.
I found out that Catherine basically is the secretary for most of our town committees, and I would like to see that stopped. Committees should be doing their own minutes and turning them into the town office. We are not paying Catherine to take minutes, except at this meeting, when Mike isn't here. I don't think it's good use of the money that we pay Catherine to take minutes from committees. So I'm hoping that we can put a stop to that, which would free her up a lot.
So you're gonna take the minutes for the finance committee meeting next week then?
I'm talking about the not the council committees,
Oh.
the town committees, the theater committee, the pool committee, or whatever committee's meeting.
You're taking the minutes
It's
for all of them?
almost,
I
Pretty
used
much.
to be, I don't anymore, because the council, the reason why the committees weren't meeting is that they used to all meet, and then all of a sudden, everything would be meeting, and I'd be running around from meeting to meeting. And so then the council put an end to that, and then sort of the committees didn't much meet after that. They were supposed to meet only when they had specific projects. So then, like the last year it came up, well, this committee hasn't met, well, they didn't have a specific project, and so that was why, but it all did start because they would have meetings and just talk about everything, and then, I would do the agendas, the meeting minutes for them, and when I had time, that was not an issue, but then once we got all the grants, it became an issue, so the council put their foot down on all the meeting minutes and stuff. And then over the years, if people did meet, they sort of didn't take notes because it's hard to do, you know, for volunteers to expect them to do minutes. But right now, the committees, a lot of the committees aren't meeting, so it's not really a big issue. There's a few. I am doing it,
But-
all the council committees have started up, so I'm doing it for all of those.
But I mean, we have staff people, Michael's available to do that, and we have a town clerk. Traditionally, it's the town clerk that is taking minutes and providing minutes for all those. Out of those two people, one of them should be available for the meetings in the evening. I realize family schedules and everything else, but between those two people, we should have coverage.
Well, I think what we've decided to do, because of people's schedules and the cost and the fact that there's no overtime or comp time, is that if the meetings are recorded, because they already, when they go to the meetings at night, would be listening to the whole tape anyway, they can look at the digital recording and then just do the minutes the next day. So I don't intend to go to all the meetings.
Yeah,
Well,
the only
that's what
problem
I-
with that is like Deb received a message that it wasn't working this evening, even
And
though the lights are on.
it's not working
so
now. I got like 6
I'm hoping.
texts.
But it will be fixed, because anytime it hasn't worked, they've recovered it
I
for
was gonna
whatever.
say, I'm hoping it's back there somewhere.
Whatever purpose, however it's happened, it's on, the lights are on, they came on properly. Whatever is going on is some electronic issue with the company.
More
And so-
broadcasting
Yes,
versus.
correct, so they'll retrieve it.
So hopefully the whole meeting
Yeah,
is
you'll have the
recorded.
meeting. All of them got retrieved when this happened.
It's frustrating to the residents though who do watch that.
Right, but at this point, there's nobody to call at their office
Right.
to get it going. They have to
The next
take
day.
the whole file out afterwards if we tried to do it during the meeting. Let's say we shut down and ran upstairs, who knows what would happen if we lose part of it or what have you.
Well, I'm glad that you're not doing the minutes, and I would like to see that it stays that way for her.
But that is how all the committees that were meeting, that the council said they're only gonna meet if there's really a purpose. Because they would meet and sort of socialize and talk if they didn't have a purpose.
Well, I mean, that's fine if they want to do that, but they need to provide their own secretary.
Yep, I agree
And
with you on
that's
that one.
all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, did you remember your thing?
No, it's gone.
Matt?
Heather, I have one more thing to add, if I may. I'm just thinking of this, maybe I'm just like thinking spring and just really excited for warm weather, but,
All are.
the pool committee, have they decided to meet, because we had the issue with the pool last year? I wanna be able to give them like plenty of ample time ahead so they can get their committee together or whatever they need to do, if they need to make changes or
I'm betting they
recommendations.
haven't, since the person who directs the pool is in Orono taking classes right now.
I'm thinking that they're not meeting, and we're also addressing the committees next week at the ordinance.
That
committee
might get
about
combined.
Yes, if you combine them,
that
it'll
with
be
the other-
easier if you have one big parks and recreation.
And you have
group rather than
one
three.
board,
Yeah.
have a board with like 7 people on it,
Mhm.
and combine those into one meeting.
Mhm. Yes,
Alright, well,
yes.
just trying to plant that seed a little bit so
Yeah.
that we can get the ball rolling.
So
I
if there's
just,
interest in changing the issue that came up
Yes.
last year, fees, then it needs to be worked on now
yes,
to get it through the council process
yeah, as you and
before
I.
June or whenever the pool opens.
Right, the big committee, because
Because it
they're,
opens the end of June, right?
Yes, it'd be
Yes.
like the third or fourth week in June, depending on when school gets out.
Right.
So if the committees are all combined, instead of looking for, a large number of residents, you'll be looking for a smaller number. And it appears from all the committee members that you'll have plenty of people for the Parks and Recreation between the three committees, if not more than what you need.
I think there was some duplication, some people served on more than one
Yes.
committee, and then there was
One-
husbands and
one was on
wives that were
3, I
serving.
think.
So, I mean, there was a lot of people, but the actual number of people isn't as many as it looks like. So, but that's a good point. But I think if we decide to do an ordinance change, I don't think, because our meeting is next Thursday, would that be able, Catherine, would we be able to put it on the same ordinance, public hearing? No, because of the advertising. Do you know what I mean? Like, to change that, or is that an order and not an ordinance?
Yeah, so all of the changes to chapter 2 that you're looking at would be ordinances, so it has to be set for public hearing. And so we discussed how if we did make a law, I can submit ahead of time, and then we can fix it, but we have to agree what you're doing at the
Right,
meeting,
which-
and then not make any changes on the Parks and Recreation. And so that is the easy one. When we get to the ordinance committee meeting, you'll see the other issues that have come up in changing the department thing, and how we found 27 places that have to be changed in all the ordinances, and the cost of this would be totally prohibitive. So we'll have to talk about how we're going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe just stay with one major change.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. I knew there would be a lot, but there are a lot of changes. Yeah, so there's only a certain amount of items that seem sensible that we probably would do, but it'll work the same, because there's been no issues over the last 20 years.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else, counselors? Okay, I only have a couple things. I want to bestow more accolades on our audience tonight. Thank you for coming. Very much appreciated audience tonight. I like the idea of the sign, but I mean, if we're talking like $5,000 to $10,000, I think we could probably spend that money better, and it would be great to have an angel in the town adopt that as a project, or maybe a community group that would want to do that. I think we have a lot of ways to get the word out about committee meetings and everything nowadays. So for me, that would not be a huge priority. I really like Jan's idea of having a volunteer appreciation day, or a volunteer appreciation tea, or something to invite all the volunteers
Like
that
a
are sitting on
picnic in
these
the summer
boards.
would be
A
nice
picnic
in
and a
Manson
volunteer
Park.
picnic or something like that, to just kind of show appreciation to the people that give up the time from their families and sit on these boards and committees. I really
So
like
that
idea.
is an excellent idea. We did that when I originally came. We had a nice evening at which we talked about what all the committees had done, and had maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Each committee chair got up and did a little celebration, gave them a little gift. We had food, which everybody was excited about. And so the first year we had huge attendance. The second year we did that, the attendance went down a bit. And then the third year, people sort of, there wasn't a huge attendance, so it got dropped at that point. People said, look, we know you appreciate us. So then we thought we would have a picnic, but this got to be such a large project, and nobody really wanted to take it on. And that was the time where I was getting all the grant funds.
Mm-hmm.
So what we would want to do is if we do something, then the next year we got to do something different, because the people won't come back,
For the
second,
same
third
thing
time.
over and over
Yes,
again.
if it's the same thing.
So you could
Even
do
though
it-
it's socialization and you're recognizing them. So you'd have to do, if you did a picnic, then you have to do a tea, or you would want to do different things.
That's a good idea.
Ice cream social.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, baby.
The other thing I was thinking about is that the Egg Festival, and the idea of having a welcome table. I really, really like that idea, and for the council to be more visible to not only people in town, but also people from out of town that are coming into the Egg Festival. And that's a way that we can be welcoming to people, not, come to our town, spend your money to give some money to our, wonderful organizations by going to all these things and everything. And then, we can tell them how much we appreciate them being there. Also, I was thinking, Jan was talking about the volunteers too. It'd be really interesting. We've had like a job fair in town before. What if we had like a volunteer board fair, and each board had like a little table, and we could invite people in. It always helps to give them food and coffee and stuff to get people to come. And then they could go around and like Pete had questions like, well, what does Pete do? What do you have to do on this committee? People might not be volunteering because they don't understand the time commitment or even the purpose of some of the committees. And so having a way that they can talk to other committee members that are already serving and try and gain interest and get people to be interested in doing that might be a way that we could get more people to be volunteering and be serving on the committee.
That is an excellent idea. We required some match for some grants and we didn't have money. We figured out a unique way to serve many purposes, to get volunteers for the committees, volunteers for the boards, and to do the match. We would have recycling, some speakers in for recycling environmental items, which was a packed room. In fact, we got told by the school we couldn't come back if we had that many people, because we were over capacity, surprisingly. And then all the organizations were there with all their members, and so then the public would come in and go to the talks, but also go mingle with all of the groups. And then I would use the time that the groups had as the match for the grant, and so we did all these things at once, and it worked out really good. The organizations in many communities are struggling because their numbers are way down. I'm not sure how that would work in the beginning. The groups that I'm on have sort of scaled back all the projects they're doing, but this would be a way for them to hopefully get some new members too.
I think part of it is our children are not stepping up to the plate and doing community service, which if you're going to volunteer, it's really, really hard to get young people to volunteer to do community service, like be on a committee or something. So I don't know, maybe we have some kind of recruitment campaign targeted at that group of
Or maybe
people.
even,
You wanna know how you do that? I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it again. Get us on social media. We are not targeting the youth because we're not using social media enough. It's just that simple.
How much social media?
These kids do not want to go to an event where they're going to be told that they should volunteer. However, they will share the heck out of a tweet or a share or something like that to do some kind of involvement. We've got to find a way to bring social media in.
MCI has a volunteer requirement, and
They do 2
also,
social service days.
They do, but they also have a lot of volunteer groups on campus and involved with that. And I want to say most schools have like a day where like Key Club and all the different groups, you can like sign up for the groups and stuff.
Yeah.
What if the council or the town had a table there on that day and shared opportunities for them to actually take part in things that are going in on the town, to make them aware of, like, they can do volunteerism that's not just like raking leaves on the 1 or 2 days, but they can be
Right.
volunteering on the pool committee or at the pool or down in one of the parks or on one of the other programs at the Pinnacle or the.
Do
the
we
other
allow
things.
under 18-year-olds to do that?
Well, that was another question.
Because
So,
that's only good if we're able to use them that way.
Right.
Because I can tell you, my son does a lot of volunteer work.
well, the other
Because I
option.
require it as his parent.
Yeah, the
But
other
only
option
on
is
places that you
to,
can do it.
have a table, see if we can have a table at MCI's reunion stuff. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that
Yes, we
are
have tried that one
coming back
before.
to town and whatnot,
Good
to make them aware of what's going on in the town, if nothing else.
They are very particular about exactly who can be at the NCI.
Reunion, yeah.
Okay, well,
We
it's
have
worth
tried
asking.
that, yeah. So for the volunteers.
Well, how many of us are alum?
Depending on what the students would be working on, there is a volunteer waiver form, the guardian would have to sign it. But yes, they can work on projects. They've come in and worked in the town office, they've done work at the parks.
Nice, okay, so that's an option there. And if we're talking about signs, the other thing I wanted to mention about signs is, our signs coming into town on Route 2 and Route 100 are looking a little weary. And so if we want to talk about putting signs up that are very welcoming, that lots and lots of people use and see, let's do something with those signs. And we have a really cute logo that was done for the bicentennial that could be part of that. I'd really love to see those get updated. And we don't seem to have one on Route 100 coming north from Clinton for some reason. We have one coming from Newport,
Right.
but we don't have one coming up from Clinton.
Nope.
And we don't have one coming up like 69 from Detroit. I don't know if we want to have one in all those places, or even if we can, because they're state roads.
I think there were some restrictions, but some of the spots were approved, and we can put a different sign there as long as we don't get any larger. There was some issue with Route 69, it was before my time.
Yeah.
Some of the areas were not approved. This has been on Public Works list, but I'm thinking I probably will have to move it to somebody else.
Would we be able to put a sign like at the entrance of the park, that Manson Park, just past the side entrance there? They have like poles there. Could we put a sign like in the park technically? That wouldn't be like on the road? Is there like a footage that you have to be out before you're on
Yeah, that's technically a public road, but one sign is already there. So we can check on that with the code enforcement officer. But you're thinking of a welcome to Pittsfield
Yeah, just welcome to
sign
Pittsfield sign.
in the park under the other sign, with the other sign.
Well, I'm thinking of the entrance over by the cemetery. Like if you can't get the,
Oh,
if
you're
the
thinking
state
of the
won't
back
let you,
entrance.
yeah, if the
Okay.
state won't let you put a welcome sign
Okay.
on the road itself, can we put them, like there's two big posts with a gate across.
Yes.
Right.
Could we put a post there, because it'd be far enough in the park, and that way you could still say welcome and thank you on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It'd be on town property instead of the state
Yes, it
right
would
away
be.
there.
On the sign, you could have a picture of council members.
No, I don't think so.
I'm gonna get back at you.
Then we wouldn't have any council members.
Yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to say is, Open Farm Day has been scheduled for this is the fourth, I think it's the 28th again this year. It's the last Saturday the fourth Saturday in July. It is the last Sunday. July 26th will be, Open Farm Day. So we're gonna start our planning. I'd really like to, kind of open up the mini farmers market area that we had last year to any community groups that would want to come and make themselves aware to people in town and people that are coming from out of town to come and visit the farm that day. We had 5 farms come last year, and the fire department came. InSource Renewable was there to talk about the solar shed. So I'd like to have other people come if they're interested in talking about community groups and projects in town. Yeah, get in touch. And that's all I have. Anybody like to make a motion?
Move we adjourn?
Second. All those in favor?
All right.
We are adjourned.